May to create a list as well as meet our obligations through the CBA. Okay. The deputy chief's job position, there's a rough draft that has been completed. I'm still working on it. It is a real work in progress. Trying to focus some wording in there, not only to be the role as the second in command of the department, but also a strong emphasis on community risk reduction and oversight of our training program. I have that in a separate document. I'm still molding. I have a motion to present here as well, respectfully asking to table, approve, or deny sending the current rough draft to the Personnel Committee for further refining and determining a salary range. So
Motion and then a second. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's move it along to the personnel.
The fire department transition separation update. Craft codes is set to start May 1st as our fire code official, specifically Glenn Craft. We have a meeting set up tomorrow at noon with Glenn, myself, Michelle, and Troy to go over all of the records that they've kept and receive the keys and other equipment back from Spring Township so that we're ready to go forward. The internal,
Just a question on that. So this goes into effect May 1.
May 1.
Have we notified Spring formally, or are we just gonna wait until June 30th in case something else comes up?
I mean, we can notify them May 1st. I can send an email to
Chief, it's up to you.
We can move forward with the email.
Well, I think they want 30 days, so
May 1st, effective June 1st, terminate.
yeah, let's go ahead and send that letter.
Okay.
Do you want a motion for that?
It's not on the agenda.
Right. We've talked about it before. It's in the agreement, the letter that Spring
I
sent.
could do it under my manager's reports are ratified.
Okay.
What isn't it within the topic of the termination, separation,
Who
sorry?
knows anymore?
Well, we have more specific things under that. I mean, I think Michelle should just send it and ask for ratification as part of her manager's report. I think that would be the most appropriate way to handle it.
Thank you, Counselor. Ron?
I had asked the chief for some details with regard to the fire code official starting and what the plan is to bring him into the system, and just looking at the number of commercial facilities we have and who's going to be the boss of this operation. Since Craft is the outsourced operation and this is the chief, and how is there a plan to lay out how many commercial facilities we can do in a given time and what the expectations are in the reporting process so that we are up to date with everything that's happening, since that is a source of income as well, along with the protective nature of what he's doing and the commercial operations that are going on. So this guy's gonna have a lot to do, and he's gonna need a supervisor that he can't say, he told me to do this and he told me to do that. So he gave me an explanation, perhaps he wants to give everyone else an explanation so we know how to work.
So the summary is that we're going to work hand in hand. I mean, ultimately, Glenn and myself are going to oversee the fire inspection program. As the fire code official, he has more of the authority to recommend the changes if there are any that are needed to the fire code with my support. But the goal is to work together to accomplish all of the different inspections that need to happen within the borough. Like I had pointed out in my report, we've done 279 to date so far out of roughly approximately 1,000. In our meetings that we've had between Glenn and myself, we're looking at least doing each of us 30 to 40 a month. He has indicated that he has other individuals that will also be working with him. So it won't be just the two of us doing it.
Okay. That answer your question? Okay, great. Any other questions on that?
We also, if there are no other questions, we also decided on a record management system and are working on moving forward with the migration from the current one to that one. It'd be a roughly 60-day process to get everything in-house with our own reporting system and not one that's shared. The internal committees, the apparatus committee's working on their updated apparatus replacement plan. That's okay. Just as an example, it's just an example. There's some financing options that are out there, and I wanted to maintain transparency with the committee here. You have two different versions from Pierce, which we just used to kind of identify where we're at. On the second page here, it shows a 10-year lease program on the right-hand side with the 10-year turnaround and a 15-year lease purchase program on the other side. At the end of both of those, whether it's the 10 or the 15, the 15-year, you outright own that apparatus. The 10-year, you would pay a balloon payment at the end there in the 11th year to actually own it, and that's based off of what they determine the resale value is. The other options are an outright purchase or purchasing from a stock list that they put out on the 1st of every month, which usually that stock list is gone within hours. And our current sales evaluation for the engine that we have, which is 15 years old, is around $100,000 for resale value.
Do you have I know the police department has developed a list of the police cars vehicles and estimating when they will be rolling over and for budgeting purposes into the future.
Yes. We
Do you
do.
have something like that?
We do. It is outdated. There were items that were skipped over in that. So we're working on rebuilding that plan so that we can move forward.
And obviously, like that 10-year program, if you think it needs to be replaced within 10 years, then it would be better to go that way than 15 years, right?
Well, the NFPA standards say that it can serve as a frontline piece for 10 years and then 5 years as a reserve, which isn't responding on every single port. Unfortunately, with our engine that we currently have, it's hit that 15-year mark. Right. So technically, it should be moved and retired or sold.
Correct me if I'm wrong, haven't we typically, or historically, we've been doing 15 on an engine and 20 years on an aerial?
I would have to look at that.
Yeah, that pretty much when Dave Bowser first came up with the snorkel, that's when he'd come up with that plan, and pretty much, to the best of my knowledge, that is always being followed as close as possible.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that one.
Do we, when we're looking at a piece of equipment to this magnitude, do we take into play what, even though we're not married anymore to Spring and what West Reading has?
We do to a point. And that was part of the reasoning to go from having a dry aerial device with the former tower to having the ladder that has a pump and water on it now. It's a little challenging to know which piece is going to get out or how many people are going to come on it from some of the neighboring municipalities. So I'm trying to get and steer our apparatus committee to focus on the trends that we see here in the borough so that we select the right piece that's appropriate for us. The mutual aid that we do get is all based on our run cards and how we're dispatched.
I just have a hard time thinking we should be buying the same, I'm not saying we are, but I wouldn't want to buy the same piece of equipment West Reading has. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
So currently, West Reading has a ladder, we have a ladder, and Western Berks Fire Department has a ladder as well as the city. So it's pretty much just straight ladder trucks down Penn Avenue corridor. We used to have the bucket with the platform, which was much safer to operate from.
Then what are you looking for now?
But we're looking at both right now, because the engine needs to be replaced.
Both an engine,
We're trying to figure out what we need. An aerial device with the ladder truck running for 3 years and 10 months, it's run almost 6,000 calls on its own, compared to the engine that was in service since 2009, when we ran 5,400 calls.
and when we get to full staff, we have 4 people on a shift.
Mhm.
If we get a medical call, is it possible that only 2 of the staff go out on a medical call on a quote-unquote significantly smaller truck versus dragging the engine out? I know we can't do it now because I was told you have to have 3 and you can't have 1 operate, blah, blah, blah. But now that we have 4, does it make sense to run, I'm going back to my emergency days, send out the small truck, not the big truck?
Oh, understood. I think there's some designing with the policies and procedures that are in place, and a lot more of a lengthy discussion about that. I'd be more than happy to sit down and have that conversation then.
Well, I just think it'll eliminate, that might not have anything to do with what we're gonna do with this, but it just eliminates some wear and tear on a huge truck that's going out because someone sprained their ankle on the curb.
And the current policies and procedures indicate that it's a single piece response, and that was the piece that was chosen because it can handle everything.
I just think it's something we should, if we're gonna have the personnel now to not send out the big truck to the BLS calls,
Okay?
is that right? And even some of the ALS calls, I mean, why are we sending, if we're gonna have the personnel, why would we send out the big truck? It can sit in the station, wait for the call for what it needs to be used for, or if there's 2 of the calls, then it goes out, but
Yeah, you're not going to the 7th store and hire and buy.
right.
So I have a question. From the point when the auction starts, we have 1 hour to figure out what you want. How soon do we have to be in a position, pardon me?
If that.
If that, okay, so if that time is coming, how long do we have to figure out what we need to do so that when you're ready for the 15-minute round robin or whatever happens, and then from that point, how long does it take to get this? Is it
The stuff.
hurry up and tell us what you want and we'll give it to you in 2 years, or how long does that work?
I'll have to follow up with the manufacturer on the specifics of how that would work. The way it's been relayed to me so far is a pre-approved purchase order, saying that this is the spec that we're looking for, and if one is going on the stock list that meets that spec, to have the authorization for the dealer to use that purchase order to hold it until we can evaluate it. So I need to get more clarification on that.
So the more clarification would include when delivery would take place.
Yes.
We have no idea,
Right.
it could be a year or a year and a half or whatever.
It could be one that's on the line now that they were building because they build stock units to fill in gaps and voids in their manufacturing process.
And Michelle, don't turn it off. That up there says, for whatever piece of apparatus, an enforcer bumper.
Yes,
Is that one
that
of
would
the
be
pieces of
an engine.
equipment we're looking at?
That would be a fire engine.
So we're talking about $1.1 million at the end of the day. Because you gotta buy the bumper-to-bumper warranty and the bumper-to-bumper chassis warranty, right?
Yes.
We do have a
Isn't
pending
that the
grant
price without
application for $1 million.
financing?
Sorry?
Isn't that the price without financing? Aren't we
Well, that's
looking, aren't we
exactly
looking,
what that's
aren't
exactly
we
what.
looking at more like $1,400,000, $1,300,000?
No, I'm looking at what the real number is if we wrote a check.
Oh, word check, yes.
Keep
If we
in
get a
mind,
grant, I mean, we have 400 and some odd thousand, 435,000.
456,000.
Sneeze.
It doesn't really come out now. It
So
doesn't.
$456,000. If we sold the engine today, we have let's call it $650,000 of the $1.1 million.
560.
So we need a grant for 560,
We asked for $1 million.
and we're asking for $1 million. Forget $1 million, don't plan on it.
Keep in mind when you look at these numbers, that any emergence or safety equipment, that's lights, that's sirens, that's seat belts, you know, a whole raft of things can be purchased by the Relief Association, which we have done in the past on a new apparatus. And we currently have $600,000 of relief money sitting there. So
So how much of that,
you can't buy the truck with it.
so how much of that cost if you just started to itemize, you know, what percentage?
It would have, once the specs are written, then you'd have to look at it that time.
And once the spec is developed, you can itemize that stuff out.
So you could be saving another 200,000 from what you already.
It's possible, it's possible.
So you said Pierce was kind of an example.
Yeah.
There are other games still in town, Mac used to do it, Owen, you know, all these other.
Yeah, so you have Pierce, you have Seagrave, you have a little bit of KME. They're all, there's a rev group which encompasses a whole different group of manufacturers, and you have E1. So I mean, there's a whole bunch to choose from. They're all roughly in the same ballpark.
Ultimately, it's your decision, because your guys are gonna have to operate this stuff. I think we know our experience with Seagrave. You know, I do know Pierce makes one heck of an apparatus, and the service is perfect on it too.
Yeah. You just changed that.
So, any further questions for me on the apparatus?
And when we're looking to start this project,
They're working.
when we're gonna make a final decision on what we need.
They're working on the specifications for both an engine and an aerial device right now as a committee. Hopefully have something together that I can present to the committee here.
And what we have now is a ladder, not an aerial, right?
It's still an aerial device, it's what they call a quint, because it can do two different functions, both the pumping and the aerial.
Why do we need two aerial devices?
The only,
That's a question, not a statement.
yeah, and so having a second aerial device would enable us that when one is down, the other one is available, so we would still have one here in the borough. Going with a platform versus a straight ladder like we currently have gives you a higher weight rating, more flow capabilities for firefighting, as well as more safety items, keeping the firefighters safe when they're operating from it. At the end of the day, whichever device, whether it's an aerial or it's a pumping device, it's gotta have water and be able to pump at the end of the day.
A lot more cities are going to the quint type format, okay? Yeah, they're still using engines for like alleys and so forth, but on narrow streets, but at least everything I'm reading and is coming this way. Definitely, whatever it's gonna be, it's gotta have water. Because I saw on 2 occasions where our ladder truck pulled up and just sat there, waiting to get water to put on a fire. This isn't FDNY, where we're having 6 engines coming along with a ladder truck, so.
The other thing that we need to bear in mind is that a lot of the redevelopment work that we've been able to accomplish, anything that will be new construction will probably be wood, not concrete floors and all that stuff. It just makes the project undoable financially.
Right.
So we went through this when Wyomissing Square was being proposed and being built at is, some of us worry a great deal about the fact that at that time we were still relying on volunteers. They wanted to do wood construction. We argued about the type of sprinkler systems, and basically two, unless it's changed since then. One that protects the entire structure and another that protects the people. And just gives them enough time to get out before the fire takes over or whatever. And they went with it's wood construction at Wyomissing Square, and it's the lesser of the two fire suppression things. So to me, the type of equipment that you're talking about is just essential.
How old's West Redding's truck? You may have
She's got a new engine, didn't they?
Yeah, they just got a new engine last year, and their ladder truck, don't quote me on it, I would say it's probably 5 to 7 years old.
Just say, in a hypothetical world, if West Redding's fire company and Wyomissing's fire company were the same, would we have any need for any new vehicles?
You're still gonna have a need for replacing vehicles.
Of course, but replacing the engine 79 we were talking about. I'm done, sorry.
Wanted to make sure.
We've ruined your day now, haven't we?
The last bit here is that the training committee has a schedule put together that they're gonna roll out for May. It includes 8 different trainings that each shift will do, accounting for up to 16 hours of training per member per month, which meets the ISO requirements that we're looking to get to. And then we're working on finishing out the rest of the year with a laid out schedule. The toughest one that we're facing right now is the requirement for doing training at a facility. And by facility, they mean the actual fire training facility, because it has to meet certain requirements. So we're looking at some different options to be able to propose for budget next year to be able to meet that requirement. That's all I have. If there's any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I just want to say that I like Colin, don't get me wrong, but I feel a hell of a lot better having the conversation that we just did than what we used to have.
Nice day.
Yeah.
Chief, job to do, besides chief.
Enjoy the honeymoon. Ask John.
I just wanna say that I'll make sure I'm not asking for $1 million in bid. You get a lot of police cars going around.
And Ethan,
Yes, sir.
you have ballistic vests, right?
We currently have a ballistic vest for each of the members.
Good, so when it comes time to budget time, I suggest coming here wearing yours. One thing, I don't know if I can say this or not. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that Phyllis has received a separate invoice for fire department 911 dispatch, and that is being paid by the Relief Association. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not.
Please said it, so.
I know I did. I was asking the question.
We can't discuss it.
Nothing to discuss. Okay, thanks very much, Chief. Chief Phillips.
Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I'm respectfully asking for a motion to approve the Safe Berks Walk No More event scheduled for June 15th of this year. Traditionally, they've always sent up a tent at the old Wrangler lot there at the corner of Park Road North and Penn Avenue. Last year, they started holding their event actually at Sly Fox, and they're going to be doing that again this year, so there will not be a need for a tent inspection. They'll be inside Sly Fox. Really, the only thing they need from us is they're asking for help crossing over a hill, get that event, because there's a event on Penn Avenue that same day in West Reading, and that's part of why they're doing it on that date. They're walking down Penn Avenue at the event, trying to get recognition for their their group, so, like we said, I'm requesting a motion to approve.
Someone would make that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion to approve the walk for no more.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, I got a request via email from a resident in the 500 block of Lowers Lane, requesting that Lowers Lane, that's owned by the borough, be posted as, parking on one side only, so no parking on the other side. Every time I went down to try to get some pictures, there's nothing going on that day, but what happens is,
Go at 4 o'clock today.
was there a game today? There's the baseball team especially, when they have their events, you get people from all over, and there's not a large parking lot there for everybody that comes. So they park across the street, in the tennis park lot, and then on that lot. Lowers Lane is narrow. They're parked on both sides, you can only get traffic going one way, in and out. But something that I wanted to bring up, that I know the school is looking at doing something about parking in that area. They haven't made any decisions yet, but I know, somebody told me, a little birdie, that they are in discussions on trying to figure out some things in that whole area. So it is possible that it will become a moot point.
I don't think so, cause Mark Boyer and I met on Friday. We actually had a walking meeting to walk to Flannery Field to look at some of that. At most, they're gonna get maybe another 48 parking spaces. So something, but not as significant as I think they'd hope.
And do we know where those parking spaces would be?
Yeah, they basically slide some of the field, so in the vicinity of where the parking spaces are now, just the
There
field.
are no parking spaces there now.
Well, the existing parking spaces, both off of Old Mill and, what is that, Cambridge, on the other side. Mainly off of Old Mill, closer to the field.
I've had this argument with the school for 5 years now, 6 years now. You can't answer me. Anytime someone comes to me about deer in the borough, I say the only thing growing faster is the bus population.
So they're looking,
There have to be buses parked there. So if we want to force their hand,
they're looking at moving those as well.
let's start thinking about not letting them use, and I was for letting them use the pool parking lot. I think all it did is create storage for more buses.
So they want to move all of the bus parking to the elementary school. One of the concerns with the roundabout at Woodland is how are you getting 26 buses down Woodland Road and into a roundabout at the same time during rush hour traffic?
I don't know if that spot's a real favorite among a lot of their board either.
There.
I'm just saying because it's a residential area and the concern has been brought up, they're gonna start those buses at 5 AM. And all those people are gonna hear that, so that several members have a concern of that.
I drive past the 7:15, they haven't started yet.
What's that?
When I drive home at 7, past it at 7:15, the bus drivers are just getting here. So,
It just depending on the bus, but I know they're there early, starting those things, especially for the high school.
Well, this
But
has
they
been
pushed the start
visited a
late
few
then.
times
sorry.
by the residents down there, and we've looked at that. I mean, if you do park it on one side of the street, it has to be on the tennis court side, because the other one is quote private property. Well, I don't want any cars parked on my grass. And then that obstructs vision, okay, to a degree. At the time, we had said, we'll consider something if the school would put in a crosswalk, or at least pay 50% of a crosswalk and signage. And the school said, wait till the fall, we're not ready to make that type of decision. So that was last year, 2 years ago. So, that's where that whole thing stood at this time. I don't see where anything's changed.
Well, I think they're trying, like I said, I know they're trying to figure out something for additional parking. I think they're trying to make that all their plan. I don't know what they've looked at. I've only heard about the additional parking, how much and where I have not heard. So,
I'd like to ask a couple questions on the buses. Are there not two problems here? There's a problem in the summer, and there's a problem during the school year. Because in the summer, the buses are still in the same place, and
No, that's not true.
no,
That's not true.
they still park them in the lot. Not anymore?
They haven't since my son played baseball.
no.
So why not have a Berkshire Mall in that one corner? There's enough acreage there to
Mall
park.
has said no.
If they pay them,
No,
they don't wanna pay them, they wanna get it for free.
I think from what Mark told me, it's $5,000 a month, which is
A what?
it's $5,000 a month, which is $60,000 a year just to park buses. Versus it sounds like the board would rather put that into a long-term solution that they own, so they're not paying.
So what do they own? I mean, we live here, what does the school district own that they can park buses on?
Well, they're looking at their existing properties and where they can expand parking.
Well, where are their properties? I mean, we know, do they have any properties we don't know about that they could put buses
Ron,
on?
I could think of one right off the top of my head, is that cafeteria field, which I hope they don't have to do, but that's one spot.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's the only thing I can think of, which would be a shame, you're eliminating another field, but,
The lot right there,
Yeah, no way to that. We want to
but
find space.
I don't know where else they're gonna go, now name another spot, Fifth and Chestnut, West Reading, I don't think it's gonna go there.
They own the Happy Home. They own it.
That's
They own
not,
it.
this is not our concern.
No,
You know,
that's not.
this is the school's concern. Let's stay focused on what our concern is.
So,
I don't see where anything's changed on it, and until we know what the school wants to do, I'm gonna suggest, make a motion that we just table this.
Why
Do you know this?
wouldn't we give some relief when we can?
Then go by the field today, and you tell me where an 80-year-old person is supposed to park to go to a baseball game, to watch their grandkids play baseball.
They own it, handicap parking. And they
There's
own,
two
they own it.
handicap parking spots.
Okay. I don't think allowing somebody, Flowers Lane solves that problem.
What's that?
I don't think parking on two sides of Flowers Lane
Well, I don't know.
solves
where
that
they-
problem
I
either.
don't know where they.
And I don't know how big the problem is, but.
Drive by at 4 o'clock today. They play Spook Valley, so it might not be a good day, but I just happened to see them way over here. They played at 4 o'clock today, so on something. So it's for lack of better terms, a total shit show.
I mean, I have heard from the residents that, yeah, you know, depending how people are parking, it's tough to see out on Cambridge Avenue, you know, but, you know, in the same, I'm just saying what people told me, but in the same point, now, to get across the street, okay, so this is all for the school, for the most part, okay? So, some type of crosswalk with appropriate signage needs to be posted.
Yeah, I supported that 2 years ago.
Now, that,
But, and I
Before
still-
we do
and I
anything,
still
that's-
support, but I don't understand why we can't provide some relief to that neighborhood.
Well, by the time we do it, the relief of the neighborhood won't matter, because the season's over in 2 weeks.
But maybe get people used to it, so why,
It's not gonna happen before they can get
you
used
don't
to it.
think you can raise the field in the summer?
There's not a problem this summer, because the parking lot's available.
buses are not parked there. so.
I understand that, but they don't need more spaces yet?
Yeah, not many more. Legion baseball doesn't drag thousands of fans, I can promise you that.
I'm gonna make a motion, that we table this.
I feel like pain on Flowers Lane. My brother lives on Flowers Lane. Try to get back to his house and cars go the other way, it's impossible. I get it. I totally get it.
We have a motion at the table, is there a second?
Did I make the motion?
No, I did.
Then I'll second it.
We have a motion and second, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is tabled.
And lastly, I am looking for an amendment to our chapter 15 in our borough ordinances regarding parking. What I'm specifically looking at here is section 104, is labeled temporary and emergency regulations. And what this does is allows myself and the mayor to regulate or prohibit parking for certain things. And they are to facilitate public works, conduct parades, processions, or public events, or to restrict or prohibit traffic nor parking in limited areas for periods not more than 72 hours. So, it also allows for fire, flood, storm, snow, ice, or other emergencies to establish temporary and/or parking regulations. So, what I'm looking for is, something that I deal with a lot is moving and tree removal. I will get calls asking, somebody's moving from the borough and they're asking for restricted parking for a couple hours on a certain day so that their movers can pull up in front of their house and load their trucks and get out of there. Same thing with tree removals. Somebody's getting a tree taken down, and so that the crews can have the ability to be right there to take care of getting the tree down. I grant it, but I don't know that it necessarily fits under this definition here. So I'm looking for.
What's it currently say?
What it says right
No,
there.
that is the currently what it says.
That's
Okay.
what it says right there.
Cool.
So, also, we will get, a couple of times, it happens a lot on Lawndale, for a perfect example, where one side of that road is no parking, the other side is parking. The person who is moving lives on the no parking side, so they're asking for relief to be able to have the trucks park in front of their house. And then it'll create, if somebody's parked on the other side of the road, a little bit of a log jam for cars. So, again, I grant that, but I don't know that I necessarily have that authority with it, how it is, but because I wanna try to make this easier for our residents and keep traffic as safe as possible for the people, I am. But I'm looking for perhaps some language in here that would give myself and technically the mayor the ability to do that. And I think this 72 hours is still more than reasonable.
So you want to do two things. You want the ability to change from no parking to parking. And you also want the ability to prohibit parking for additional reasons.
Yes.
So you're saying for the 65 years that I've lived in this borough, we've been doing it wrong?
Well, that's the language right there. And I just think that,
We've been doing it right, but we don't have the actual authority to do it.
we're doing it for the right reasons. I just think we need to-
Can we just add something on it and say, and any other events
As
that the
determined
police
by-
chief fits, deems necessary?
Well, I think to do it right, I will make a motion that we ask the chief and Michelle and the solicitor to craft the appropriate language, and we'll approve it next month.
So let me ask a question. Is there no parking throughout the borough that nobody knows about at this point? And you guys want to allow parking? Because it seems to me that
It's only on a situation, like
if you wanted to have a
moving.
moving truck in front of your house, you would just pull a moving truck up, load it and leave. You wouldn't have to get permission.
Drive over the cars and park.
Well, if there weren't cars there, you'd pull the moving truck
Yes.
in, right?
That's the idea.
You wouldn't
But I-
have to get
but I can-
permission.
No, but I can park on my side of the street. He's talking about the situation where parking is prohibited,
So where are those no parking
He
signs?
said like on Lawndale,
I don't know.
like on Lawndale.
Well, that's one. I don't remember any no parking signs in the borough.
Sure.
Oh, there's plenty.
There's not
They're
on
also,
Garfield.
there's a.
Valley, Winger,
Yeah, like
this,
all of
that,
it,
Okay,
there's
all of
parking
it.
one
Is it
side
on
of the
this
street.
side of the community? Because there's not on Garfield.
Woodland, yes.
No, but I mean, the other side is still all the same, it's why I'm missing, so all those roads, Woodland Road, it's parking on one side of the road.
Let's clean the word, let's clean, I'll second Fred's motion.
We have a motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, they'll get together and get with council and then give us the wording.
Did you get my email on that? Do you remember seeing it?
I have a question. Is the 72 hours good enough for?
No, I think so. There was if you recall, when the tennis park condos came to us, they asked to be able to park on Cambridge where it's no parking. I brought that to fire and police and ultimately council, and you granted the extended relief. Something like that, if some came to me and said, it's gonna be less than 72 hours, fine, but because it was more than that, we'll have to bring it to the body and council.
The existing ordinance is focused on public events, and what the chief is
Exactly.
trying to get at is.
Private events.
Private events, right.
Right, that's my point. So,
Okay. I'll work with Michelle and the chief, and we'll get something.
Do you wanna, would it be a good place to put, like, when somebody wants the street closed off for block parties, or is that in the?
Well, that's in there. That's
Okay.
taken care of.
I consider that a public event.
If this is done before, or in time for council, you just wanna bring it right to council? Or don't you think it'll be done by?
We've been doing it for 65 years, we could do it for another month.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good point, good point.
In the meantime, chief will just do what the hell he wants to do.
And that's everything.
Okay.
So, John, I assume when you're talking about like Lawndale, if they're gonna park on the side that's no parking, then you're
I'm asking for permission to allow
to
them to
no
park.
parking on the other side too.
This might be a way to control the traffic and the speeds in one day.
So I have one question, that I'm going to take poetic license to say that something is parking. Because up until 2 weeks ago, you couldn't park in Happy Hollow, but now that we have movable things there to allow people to drive down there, instead of the chain that goes in front of the normal place it used to be, there's no chain, there's just 4 yellow things that people have figured out that I can just drive over this thing, and I have seen cars there in the afternoons, in the evenings, in the mornings, which are just driving over it and parking there for whatever reason. I understood that maybe it's because, I don't know because why, but the chain worked fine, nobody could get through there unless you opened the chain and drove down. But now there's cars actually going there, and there's no policeman down there to say, get out of here.
I have seen those, I have gone over them, as I've gone up and spoke to our individual there. But I have not heard of or received any reports of any cars being there at another time.
Can they get on there?
Yeah.
Our
from-
cars-
From Wayne Avenue?
Our cars go up there, yeah, they can come down from.
I thought it was a big
top
curb,
and
is
the
that
bottom.
a curb there?
He's talking about from Wayne, you're talking about from Trent.
Yeah, I'm talking about from Wayne. That's where the big orange things are, yellow things are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on.
They're on the bottom, so they're,
Or I mean,
they're at both ends of the drive.
Both ends.
You can do both.
People drive in to drop off the birthday cake when they're having something at the pavilion, but they shouldn't be parking because my kid's playing baseball.
Correct, and that's why the lock was put on there, but, I mean, I'd have to double check with Greg, but my guess is the reason the chain in the lock was taken down is because the amount of times that Public Works, who had the key, was running out after hours to unlock it, and with playground starting in a few weeks, that's not ideal.
It's not ideal to have the yellow things, and not ideal to have.
Which is spikes, those spikes are flat on top.
I mean, that's not, you need to get vehicles down there for maintenance and other purposes, so, yes. The yellow things are the flexible bollards, for lack of a better term, that you can drive over, they're identical to the ones that we have at Wyomissing Hills. It's likely, like I said, to save on overtime costs from Public Works coming out after hours to take the chain down and then come back to put it back up.
You just instruct the playground leaders, you know, that no car is supposed to be parked in there, and if so, tell them to call the police.
So it gets
If
more overtime.
they
The
refuse to
police
do it.
move the cars.
Is that in the,
Maintenance guys don't want.
is that also in the agreement for somebody who wants to lease it, that there is absolutely no parking on the playground property?
It should be, but I'd have to look to double check.
That should be in their agreement, I think.
I agree.
It protects
If
us.
you're having a big, I'm just going back to when I was there, that football team used to do their thing there every August. And parents would drive down because they're lifting food and whatever else out of their cars, but generally everybody moved after it was, and then they'd go back down and pick it back up, and then they'd leave. But if you have someone there to watch a baseball game, let's just make the ticket $500 and be done with it, and that'll be the end of it.
They put a sign there anyway, so people know they can't park there,
There-
even though It's.
There's a sign that says no, like, this is
Yeah,
not an
it
accident.
does, but there is a sign. People are telling you they're ignoring it now because it's easy to ignore it.
Because they want.
Right.
We had the same problem with Wyomissing Hills going up that
Right.
street.
Right.
They're gonna ignore it because they want to change something.
You couldn't
Kids,
ignore
they
it.
take it, throw it away, throw rocks in the car.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else to discuss? If not, make a vote.
So you
New business?
Not
There's
a
no new business
not a-
anymore.
meeting,
There hasn't been since last year.
yeah,
Well, can I speak?
no,
No.
that's the law, Dave. Hey, Dave, that comes from the state, not from us. Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Huh? Oh.
I asked whether we want, we need to approve the reports from fire and police chiefs because we approve reports from EMS.
I thought we do that at the county, at the,
Just that
Just
there's.
as a
big-
council, not
yeah.
here.
Yeah, just the council,
I think we just did that because nobody's here.
Okay,
yeah.
just didn't want to leave.
motion adjourned.
We are adjourned.
Okay.
Are we done?
Yes.
Yes.